Sound to your mind.
Breathe. I stay quiet as I light on my loud light. Breathe. I balance diet, I'm just trying to get my pounds right. Breathe. I stay quiet as I light on my loud light. Breathe. I balance diet, I'm just trying to get my pounds right. Shouts all on my team, I need more than a mattress support in my dreams. Could grab a few Zeds like I'm falling asleep, but I don't wanna wake for the morning. Grief, breathe. Tears drop to the form in the sea. A broke heart, but it's worn in my sleeve. Never listened, I was warned in my teens, but I still skipped school, I was taught in the streets. Ring back, don't call for police. Stand tall, don't fall for the beast. Got issues with trust, so I'm born to believe. We've been a victim of love and now we're caught in it deep. Breathe.
Yes, people, what's happening? What's happening? Welcome back to Gav Goes In. You know what? I thought I'd do something a bit different today. You know, take a little bit of a break from Manchester United news. You know, just general transfers, etc. So I thought I'd do something a bit different. And again, those of you that have been watching the channel for any amount of time, you guys would know that when it comes to when I talk about football, a lot of my different opinions, you know, come from the fact that more or less, you know, these pundits, you know, the media, they're trying to do you a disservice. You know, someone like myself that takes football very seriously, from playing, from watching, from coaching, etc. You know, I'm someone that's never going to be fooled by the media, and even if they're ex-professionals as well. You know, I think it's important to have your own mind, you know, and not follow the general consensus. That's how I see it, because a lot of the players, you know, that are rated in this era of football, you should always ask yourself why, you know, they're always on the forefront of people's minds. And a lot of it comes from the media, a lot of it comes from the pundits, but also a lot of it comes from a lack of understanding as well, you know, because there's loads of players that are rated, but there's little nuances in the football that people don't actually take notice of as to why certain players are rated. So again, you look at the likes of the pundits, you know, and I've picked out three of them in particular: Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, Roy Keane. You know, I think it is important to separate the footballer from the pundit. You know, obviously, me being a Man United fan, you know, Gary Neville and Roy Keane were two great players for United. You have to say, won multiple titles for the club. But just because they're ex-pros doesn't mean that these guys know what they're talking about. And that's why when I've said scripted, full of shit, or both, you know, I genuinely think it's both, if I'm honest with you, because again, a lot of these guys, some of the things they come out with, you know, for me, is just a load of rubbish, man, to be honest. And what I've done, yeah, I've taken 3 comments from each pundit, you know. Some are based this month, some are last month, and some are from last year. Big up to Foxy Danny, big up to Babs One Diva as well. So yeah, what I've done, I've just taken a couple of comments that these guys have said, and I'm just going to give my reaction to, or different kind of reaction to what probably is out there, in my opinion. So as I said, something a bit different, but guys, let me know in the chat what you think. And as I said, make sure you're smashing that like button as well. And even if you're new, you know, it's your first time on here and you haven't seen any of my content, give my other content a check and tell me what you think also. So let's start off with Jamie Carragher. So Jamie Carragher on Bukayo Saka after the Carabao Cup final that Arsenal lost to Manchester City. So Carragher suggested that Saka should temporarily change his position to rediscover his form. To rediscover his form after the Carabao Cup final. Now, the reason why I've pinpointed this one, yeah, is because at the end of the day, yeah, if someone is in poor form, yeah, or if someone just isn't good enough, yeah, it's okay to just take them out and let them have time on the bench. That's how it should be done. Yeah. But the thing with Bukayo Saka, yeah, the fact now that Bukayo Saka is on 300 grand a week, obviously the World Cup is around the corner. So the media, you know, the pundits, they're going to be trying to keep Bukayo Saka's name as relevant as possible, because it's all about England in the World Cup. Because if you've got a Bukayo Saka that is playing games, that is on form, obviously that'll be better for England in the come the World Cup. The problem is, yeah, when you're getting pundits like this saying he needs to change his position, yeah, we can all agree that Bukayo Saka has played his best football. I would say before he played right wing as a left back, because that's when that's where he came through at Arsenal. And to be fair, he was showing a lot of promise then. Obviously, he's transitioned to a left-footed right winger. Now, the kind of wingers that I'm used to seeing isn't a Bukayo Saka. I think Saka's someone that is, you know, he's very good at, you know, I would say keeping the ball, using his strength and just playing it simple. But in terms of his flair, he hasn't got flair like that. A lot of his game is, you know, the system helps him out a lot at Arsenal, you know, where he just drifts into positions, picks up the ball, and he either cuts in to shoot or he tries going down the outline and crossing it with his right foot. Now, as you can see now, a lot of his game now is based on playing for corners. Yeah. Never did I believe that that Arsenal would be looking, or Mikel Arteta in particular, never did I believe that he'd be playing as a number 10. I mean, I don't think people deep how pathetic and how ridiculous it is to see Saka as a number 10. So Saka's not doing his job as a right winger because he hasn't been good enough. And let's say really, yeah, he is starting to get found out. But all of a sudden now, Jamie Carragher is suggesting that he needs to, you know, rediscover his form by temporarily changing position, you know. And again, for me, this is an idiotic comment from Jamie Carragher, because Jamie Carragher knows full well that Bukayo Saka isn't a number 10. Yeah. So I'd rather these pundits just call it what it is. Bukayo Saka is struggling for Arsenal. He needs time on the bench. As much as I'm not a fan of Noni Madueke, Madueke deserves to play ahead of Saka right now, because Saka is ineffective. He's not really producing anything. But the fact that he's been given that new contract, it now means that, you know, you've got to justify playing Saka every game, you know. But the fact that these pundits, Jamie Carragher in particular, yeah, who I actually think is actually quite a decent pundit, really, the way he analyzes things is quite decent in comparison to a lot of them, yeah. But again, this is a guy that should he really have been having a second chance after what he's done? But that's a different story for another day. But to suggest that he needs to be playing a different position, which he's probably talking about playing as the 10, it just shows you that these guys are either, this is what I'm saying, are they scripted or just full of shit? Because Jamie Carragher knows full well that Bukayo Saka really should be spending time on the bench. But they're not going to call it out because, again, Saka is someone that is loved in the media. And you can't say anything against players like this, unfortunately. You know, but there's no way that Bukayo Saka, for me, should be starting for Arsenal. He shouldn't be. But the fact that he's been given a new contract is now going to put pressure onto the likes of Arteta to keep him in the team. And the longer that happens, it's going to be a detriment to Arsenal moving forwards. But then I'm just waiting for Saka to get the odd goal, and then all will be forgotten, because this is how it works in this country. There's certain players that don't have to do too much in the pundits' eyes and in the media's eyes to get more chances, in a sense. You know what I mean? So Saka's one of them. Bukayo Saka has been overplayed by Mikel Arteta and Arsenal through injury. Yeah, again, but whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That's Arteta's fault. You know, again, I don't want to be hearing that Saka's in poor form because he's been overplayed. Because I'm pretty sure if Saka was getting a few more goals or he was playing well, this whole he's been overplayed wouldn't be brought up. So again, I'm not really with the Saka being overplayed hype. You know what I mean? The facts are, Bukayo Saka just ain't as good as what the English media and the pundits are making him out to be. It's just that simple. You know, he's a good Premier League player, but the country will have you believe, or the Arsenal fans will have you believe, that he's one of the top players in the world. And he's not. He's not even one of the top players in the league. So I don't really know how he can be one of the top players in the world. I think he's just someone that, you know, the media and the pundits have just latched onto because of other things that we already spoke about before, you know? So, yeah, I don't really agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Juan Mata ain't even better than Andre Kanchelskis and Lee Sharp on the right wing. Don't know what that's got to do with anything, but is what it is. It's like trying to fit Trent in midfield. Big up to Titanium. Exactly. The whole Bukayo Saka playing as a number 10 is comical, really. I just don't see how, you know, Jamie Carragher can come out and say he needs to rediscover his form by changing position, because he could only mean the number 10 position. Or does he mean playing Bukayo Saka on the left-hand side? Because I actually think Saka should be playing on the left-hand side. But what I can see with what Arteta's going to do, Arteta's not going to play him out there, because I think Saka's standing in the team and the fact that he's the highest earner, you know, he's probably going to dictate a bit more as to where he's going to play in the team. You know, so these are the things, man. This don't make sense. Big up to Fitz. Big up my guy each and every time. Let's move on anyway. Let's move on to the other pundit. So as I said, I got 3 each. Yeah. Now this one was quite a recent one. Yeah. Roy Keane. So Roy Keane on Neymar, saying he claimed Rooney, Ronaldo, and Thierry Henry were all better than Neymar, and refusing to label Neymar as a top player. Now, I spoke about this briefly the other day, yeah. The reason why this doesn't really surprise me, yeah, is because putting Roy Keane and what he done for Manchester United to the side, yeah, these are the kind of things where people like Roy Keane need to be called out, because there's too many people that latch onto Roy Keane because Roy Keane was a legend for Manchester United, and they think that they can't really oppose his opinion, you know, because it's Roy Keane. You see me, yeah, I'm a Man United fan, and I couldn't give a toss about that. I think when people start having opinions like this, they should be challenged. And if you look at Roy Keane as a manager, he's a failure as a manager. Let's face it, yeah. As a pundit, he's only a pundit on TV because he says controversial things. But I ain't being funny, yeah. Any idiot can go on TV and say controversial things. But does Roy Keane actually know what the game's about? He doesn't. If you check what Roy Keane talks about a lot of the time, it's heart, passion, you know, getting your shorts dirty, you know, just doing the simple things. Like, it's very generic talk that Roy Keane does, yeah? So when he's talking on someone like Neymar, we shouldn't really be surprised, because the guy's clueless when it comes to identifying what a good player is. It's just that simple, you know? And again, nothing on Cristiano Ronaldo, Thierry Henry, Wayne Rooney, yeah? Because you're talking about 3 of the greatest players to play in the Premier League. You know, I think Thierry Henry, for me, is arguably the greatest player to play in the Premier League, you know? Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo, 2 Man United legends. Again, two of the best players to play in the Premier League. One of them, one of the greatest players to play football in terms of what he's won and his accolades, yeah? But the disrespect that Neymar gets in comparison to them, the only reason why Roy Keane is saying that Ronaldo, Rooney, and Henry are better than Neymar is not really hard to work out, yeah? These guys all played in the Premier League, and that's all Roy Keane knows. You think Roy Keane knows about players on the continent? He doesn't. All he knows is what he sees in the Premier League, yeah? And again, this to me seems like a scripted response from him, because if you want to go about numbers, yeah, World Cup goals, whatever, yeah, Neymar's got more goals than Rooney, more World Cup goals than Rooney. Rooney's got 1 World Cup goal. I don't think there's many people out there that actually realize that. Rooney, for as good as he is, as good as he was, should I say, has 1 World Cup goal. Yeah? If you want to talk about numbers, Neymar's got the numbers. If you want to talk about pure ability, yeah, he's got more pure ability than Ronaldo, Rooney, and Henry. It's a fact. Like, this ain't an opinion. He's more naturally gifted than all 3 of them players. So again, you have to read through the bullshit, yeah, and just realize, why does Roy Keane think Ronaldo, Rooney, and Henry are better? What's that based on? What is that based on? Because Rooney, Ronaldo, and Henry have all won Champions Leagues. So has Neymar. Yeah. Okay, cool. Henry's won a World Cup. Rooney and Ronaldo haven't. Yeah. Copa Americas. Neymar's won a Copa America. You know. So again, I need to understand. And if anyone's in the chat now, and there's 20 of you watching, please let me know why you think Roy Keane thinks that Rooney, Ronaldo, and Henry are better than Neymar. If it's only if it's not based on he's just saying that because they all played in the Premier League. And that's the low level, yeah, the low level of conversation that these guys are having. Because Neymar, for me, yeah, the only player in the modern era of football that can chat to Neymar is Messi. He's the only one. Not even Cristiano Ronaldo can chat to Neymar, if we're being serious. Ronaldo can talk to him in a sense where Ronaldo's won trophy after trophy, etc. And if people want to start throwing in the, you know, the mentality and all this kind of stuff, but I'm talking pure football. Pure football. The only one that can chat to Neymar is Messi. That's the only one. So again, big up to Titanium, Brazil's highest ever goal scorer, and he's not even a striker. It's these idiotic comments there that these pundits come out with, and they don't get questioned because people look at them and think they're ex-professionals. Don't be fooled by these guys being ex-professionals to make you think that these guys know what's going on. These guys are heavily scripted, or they just go with the general notion that what everyone else wants to say. That is a fact. Because to come out and say that those three players, who are great players by the way, are better than Neymar and refuse to label Neymar as a top player, it either shows you that you don't even understand the player you're talking about there, or you're just biased and ignorant. And I think he's biased and ignorant, because Neymar's a player that is hated in this country. And he's hated in this country purely because of the way the football's being played in this country and how the majority of fans see football. You know, Neymar's someone that isn't relatable to a lot of fans really in this country. It's a fact. You know, he's rated on the continent, but in this country, for some reason, fans just don't want to give him his dues. They say he's too flashy. You know, he's they might say he don't work hard enough. All that bullshit. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? So again, what I would say, man, is do not listen to these pundits, because these pundits in the media are just trying to, you know, they're trying to indoctrinate a lot of people to have the same opinion as them, you know. And I'm someone that is well versed in football from years, and you know, I will never be swayed by these people. Never. It'll never happen, you know, because as I said, Neymar is Brazil's highest all-time top goal scorer. He's got the numbers to back it up, even if you want to go on numbers. He's by far the most talented player of his generation. No one can argue that. Yeah. And he's won league titles, Champions Leagues, Copa Americas. The only thing he hasn't got on his resume, yeah, is the World Cup and the Ballon d'Or. But we know the Ballon d'Or is done by a popularity vote. We all know that, because when Messi and Ronaldo had the Ballon d'Or between them, you know, even though they were scoring an obscene amount of goals, we just knew that it was going to be Messi and Ronaldo dominating it between them. We know that. But Neymar should have at least got one of them, no doubt. Because if anyone remembers the game against PSG when Barca come back at the new camp, yeah, you know, as much as I'm a massive fan of Messi, Messi's one of my favorite players ever, Neymar was the one that got Barca back in that, if you remember. You see what I mean? So I just don't understand the nonsense that the likes of, well, the thing is, I do understand it, because these guys don't know what they're talking about. It's as simple as that. These guys are scripted, or they're just trying to fool people, or it's a lack of understanding. But it's definitely one of them, you know. Big Up Fitz says we can all say when Neymar had his prime was Rooney actual prime. When was Rooney's actual prime? I would say, yeah, Rooney's actual prime was when he first came to the club, because everyone hits their prime at different stages. When Rooney made his debut at Fenerbahce, scoring the hat-trick, yeah, he might have been in his prime then. You never know. You never know. But all I'm saying to you, yeah, people will think, yeah, that Rooney was better than Neymar. He wasn't. And again, what is this based off? It's probably based off people just watching the Premier League. Because if you wanna go on to World Cup performances, Rooney, as good as Rooney was, Rooney didn't shine in the World Cup on the world stage. So again, I think the people that will say Rooney, it's going to be a lot of fans really that are based in England. It's a fact, whether people like it or not. You know what I mean? But Rooney was a great player, no doubt, man. But when people say he's better than, when you got Roy Keane saying he's better than Neymar, Roy Keane's only saying that because he played with Rooney, which is just ignorant to say anyway. You know what I mean? So, it's crazy, man. But anyway, moving on, guys. Moving on. Back to Jamie Carragher. And again, make sure you're smashing the likes if you're in there. Make sure you're subbing if you're new as well. So yeah, what we're doing, guys, I'm just dissecting some of the comments from last month, or this month, or from last year, from some of these pundits, you know, because, you know, someone did ask me the other day if I could do a reaction to some of these pundits' comments. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. So this is what we're doing. We've got 3 each. We've had one from Carragher, one from Roy Keane, and now we're going to go back onto Carragher. So this was back in March, yeah? Oh, sorry, this was this month. So, what is it? The other day, actually. So Carragher criticised the decision to start Kepa in goal over David Raya, calling, well, basically saying that Arteta needed to be more ruthless, yeah? One thing I would agree, yeah, is that I did say before the game that David Raya is going to play. And the reason why I said that is because Arsenal haven't won a trophy for how long? And it's only right that they play their strongest team, because there's a lot riding on this game. Yeah. And I even said David Raya will start the game. When I see David Raya wasn't starting, even I was shocked. Yeah. But where I have the issue with, yeah, is that do not let these pundits or the media cloud your judgment into thinking that the only reason Arsenal lost that game is because David Raya wasn't in goal, because that's just not true. Manchester City dominated the game from start to finish. You'd probably say Arsenal had a spell, yeah, of what, 10, maybe 15 minutes where they probably looked like slightly the better team. But Man City were always in the ascendancy in that game from start to finish. Yeah. I predicted 2-0, and that's what happened. But all you're hearing now from a lot of these pundits is they should have started David Raya. Like David Raya would make a difference. And David Raya has been good this season, but Man City were always the more dominant team. So don't let these guys tell you that it was because Kepa was in goal. We all know Kepa isn't good enough. We all know that. And the mistake he made was poor. But from what I've seen so far, too much is being taken away from Man City's performance to focus on Kepa, because these people always need a scapegoat. And unfortunately, rather than these pundits look at Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Victor Gyokeres, Gabriel Magalhaes, all the players, yeah, that are regarded by a lot of these Arsenal fans as their best players, why don't we look at the fact that these guys never showed up in a big game? And again, is it really a surprise? Not really, because these pundits do a very good job, yeah, of trying to make people think that these players are top players. And then what happens, yeah, like always, and this should be a lesson, yeah, as well this should be a lesson to a lot of fans out there, yeah. Whenever certain players in the media, i.e. Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Bruno Fernandes, Jude Bellingham, and I pick out those guys in particular, yeah. Whenever them guys have a poor game, you will never get the pundits or the media talking much about it. But as soon as these guys get a goal or they get a winner, etc., these guys plaster it all over the place. And that should tell you everything, all you need to know. You know, and I've been talking about this for time. You know, there's certain players that don't have to do too much, yeah, to get back in the good books. Whereas other players you know, they just don't get afforded that kind of that kind of leeway in a sense, you know. So as I said, yeah, even though David Raya probably should have started if we're being serious, do not let these guys cloud your judgment, yeah, and make you think that it was all on Kepa, because, you know, a lot of these Arsenal fans will tell you that Declan Rice is the best midfielder in the world, the best in the league. Rodri just showed you why. That's a load of nonsense. But again, I hate to say I told you so, you know. They're not going to scapegoat the media darlings, and this is the problem. This is the problem. But this is why I'm never gonna listen to these people, because, you know, these things are all planned. They're all scripted. They're all scripted. It's all well and good, you know, talking about Declan Rice hitting them free kicks against Real Madrid, but as soon as he goes missing in a big game like against Man City, up against a midfielder that's been out for the majority of the season and who is regarded as arguably the best midfielder in the league, Declan Rice is nowhere to be seen. But again, this ain't a surprise to me or to many others that watched the game. Declan Rice is just a good player, but these guys make him out to be like he's unbelievable, you know. But why is that? Why isn't that the talk? Why is the talk about Kepa? Ask yourself that question. These pundits in the media, they're all playing a game with you guys, man. I'm telling you. Let's move on to Gary Neville. Gary Neville, Mr. Politician. So in March, again, recently, Gary Neville praised Arsenal's depth, their squad depth, saying, well, noting there is no drop-off when rotating younger players like Lewis Skelly. Yeah. Now, let's face it, Lewis Skelly is nowhere near the first team. Nowhere near it. Yeah. Again, Lewis Skelly was talked about last season. You know, there were some fans out there saying that Lewis Skelly is going to be the best, England's best left back. He'll be the left back going to the World Cup. This is all the rubbish these guys were talking. Yeah. I think it's quite clear to see that not only is Lewis Skelly not going to the World Cup, but Arteta just doesn't rate him, really. It's just that simple. And again, we all know that Lewis Skelly is a midfielder. Yeah. But the thing is, when you're saying that there's no squad depth for someone, there's no drop-off when rotating younger players, I would argue, yeah, I would argue who is, I mean, I'm looking at Arsenal's first team, yeah. There ain't no one in that first team that I would say is irreplaceable. I just think Arsenal have a bunch of good players across the board. That is it. That is it. So when he's saying there's no drop-off, yeah, let's go through Arsenal's team. Is there a major drop-off between David Raya and Kepa? You'd probably say yeah, but David Raya has made mistakes, but David Raya is better than Kepa. But is there a massive drop-off? Not really. Yeah. Urian Timber and Ben White. For me, there's a massive drop-off between Timber and Ben White, because I think Ben White's done out here anyway, and Timber's just a better defender. It's just that simple. Is there a massive drop-off between the left backs, between Hincapié, Calafiori, and obviously there's no point mentioning Lewis Skelly. I think defensively, Hincapié is better, but attacking-wise, Calafiori is better. Yeah? But is there a drop-off, really? Not that much. So, based on what he said there, Gary Neville, so far, there's only been a drop-off majorly from Timber to Ben White. Then you look at centre-backs, Gabriel Saliba, and then you put Mosquera or Hincapié there. Is there a massive drop-off? Personally, I think there is. Because if you play Hincapié and you play Mosquera for 10 games a season, are they going to get, for 10 games in a row, are they going to get the same results that Gabriel and Saliba would get? Not in my opinion. They wouldn't. So there's a massive drop-off there. Then we go into midfield. Zubimendi or Christian Norgard? Well, the fact that Norgard hasn't even been playing, you would have to say there's a drop off, and that isn't because that, you know, Zubamendi is a top player, but there's going to be a drop off because he hasn't been playing on Norgard. Declan Rice, and who coming for Declan Rice? Marino. Is there a massive drop off? Obviously, Marino's out injured. But again, Marino's more of a goal threat, you would say, than Declan Rice, but Declan Rice will give you the legs. No, I'm not a Gunners fan. I'm a Man United fan, but I'm a football fan. You know what I mean? So football's just in my blood, man. So I talk about all football, but big up. Eze and Odegaard. I mean, I think Eze is better, but there's not a massive drop off. Gabriel and Trossard. Is there much difference? Trossard's better, but he's been poor, and Gabriel Martinelli is just been hopeless. Saka and Madueke. Is there a massive drop off? No. Gyokeres is poor. So again, you go through their whole team, yeah, their whole team, because I'm trying to understand when he's saying there's no drop off, yeah, he's praising their squad depth, but their squad depth isn't great. They haven't got one outstanding player that I would say gets into any team in the world, unless you're going in defense. But even that, I mean, is the system helping Gabriel Saliba, or are they just that good? So when Gary Neville's praising their squad depth, yeah, I think the biggest drop off in squad depth, the biggest drop off you would say, is from Urian Timber replacing him with Ben White. That's the biggest drop off. And if we're being picky, you might go Gabriel Saliba. But everyone else is around the same sort of level. So again, this whole they've got squad depth is a load of nonsense. Load of nonsense. These guys, man, they just chat rubbish, man. You know what I mean? Some rivals have been saying for ages, without Bruno Fernandes goals, Man United would have been relegated. But again, and big up to Samuel Lindgren. What I would say based on that, Samuel Lindgren, yeah, there's a lot of fans that don't know what they're talking about. It's just that simple. They don't know what they're talking about. A lot of fans say a lot of things, yeah, but whenever you question them on certain things, there's nothing to say. These guys are they're just doing sound bites. Because to say that Bruno Fernandes goals would have got us relegated, we almost got relegated with him. So that don't make no sense. It makes no sense. What people are too busy doing, yeah, is absolving Bruno of any blame. That's all they're doing. So any fan that comes out and says that, rival fan that comes out and says that, like, these guys don't know what they're talking about. It's just that simple. They're just sound bites to me, these kind of things. Because football's a team sport, man. So why is it always without his goals, we would have been relegated? How about for every goal that he's scored, he's probably been at fault for at least half of them? How about that? But again, people only want to touch on the positive when it comes to certain players. This is what's going on. And the pundits and the media play a massive part in this. So, unfortunately, man, this is what's going on. I always thought Elise was better than Eberechi Eze. Yeah, but again, like, why not compare Elise with Saka? Because they're direct players in where they play. Eze's a number 10. Elise plays from the right. So if you're going to compare Elise to someone, compare him to Bukayo Saka. They're both left-footed, both playing the same position. You know? Anyway, let's move on for Jamie Carragher's third response. So this one was back in February. So Jamie Carragher says, and this one made me laugh, by the way. Yeah. So this is based on Victor Gyokeres. Admitted he was wrong about the striker, comparing his mentality to Alan Shearer after the North London derby. So he's comparing Gyokeres' mentality to Alan Shearer after North London derby. So the same Tottenham that just got battered by Nottingham Forest, which shows you that they're getting beat by everyone. But we're meant to believe that because Carragher said so, Gyokeres, he was wrong about Gyokeres because he's got a mentality like Shearer. For a start, why is Alan Shearer's mentality the measuring stick? That's the first thing. And secondly, so it's taken you one game because he got a couple of goals against a poor Tottenham team to all of a sudden, you know, he's got a mentality like Shearer. Again, these comments are just weird, man. They're just weird. They're just proper weird. It's like, come on, man. Just face it. Gyokeres ain't good enough. He ain't good enough. It's just that simple. Because I'm pretty sure if this was other strikers, they wouldn't be getting this kind of protection or this kind of excuses made. You're allowed to just say someone's not good enough and just keep it moving. You know, but all of a sudden, because he got 2 goals against Tottenham, he's now got a sick mentality. It's just odd, isn't it? It's odd. Anyway, let's move it on, guys. Let's move it on. Back to Gary Neville. Now, this one here, yeah. This one frustrated me. And it frustrated me to a level, yeah, because it's very typical of what I expected. Yeah. Now, Gary Neville on Cherki. Cherki putting in a man of the match performance against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup final. Yeah. So Neville expressed his anger at the City attacker for juggling the ball during the match against Arsenal, naming it showboating, cockiness, and a sign of arrogance. Yeah. Now, the reason why I have a problem with this one, yeah, is because this is where football's gone now. Yeah, this is where football's gone. Football in this country, they're trying. It's been going on for a while anyway. Yeah, but they're trying to eliminate, you know, real talent. The fact that Cherki started doing kick-ups, yeah. So what? So who cares? So what if he's doing kick-ups? Like, these things are part of the game. Shithousery is part of the game, yeah? And not mentioning as well, yeah? This is the same Gary Neville, by the way, that you remember when he was a player, when Man United scored the last-minute equaliser. I think it was either against Man City or Liverpool. I think it was Man City, yeah? And this is the same guy that started kissing the badge and rubbing it in the Man City fans' face. That's the same guy, yeah? And yet he's upset, or he's not, or he's angry because Cherki was doing kick-ups in a game that he was winning, yeah? And if you know the player, the guy's a flair player anyway. Allow him to express himself. So what if he was doing kick-ups? It's shithousery. It's part of the game. And as I said, this is the same guy that started kissing the badge when United got the winner against Man City. I believe it's when Michael Owen scored the winner, if I remember, against City, the 4-3 game. So again, the reason why I'm annoyed with this one, yeah, is because just let players do what they got to do, man. Like, Cherki is a free spirit technician maverick. If he wants to start doing kick-ups in the game because, you know, the situation has presented itself, who cares? Like, I'm laughing, yeah, because it's like, why are these things even being made, yeah, a thing in football now? Like, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. The ball come to him, he controlled it on his chest, started doing kick-ups. So what? So, like, it's just odd, man, to see that these pundits are pinpointing things like that. And what I base it on, yeah, is because I'll give it to you like this, yeah. If that was let's say Eric Cantona, if that was Eric Cantona and he was commentating on the game, or he was in the studio after the game, do you think Eric Cantona comes out with Cherki was showboating? And the reason I say that, yeah, is because look at the kind of player that Gary Neville was. Gary Neville was a tryhard. And what happens is that when you get a tryhard kind of a player that now becomes a pundit, these guys find issue with that. But what that is, that's a reflection, yeah, of what they're not. Because why is it being spoken about that Ryan Cherki was doing kick-ups in the game? Like, why does that matter? Shouldn't matter. And again, this is what, yeah, these pundits do. They take exception because a player as talented as Cherki, in their eyes, is taking the piss. But yet the same Gary Neville, as I said, was the same guy that was kissing the badge, rubbing it in rival fans' faces. You know what I mean? So again, whenever I see things like this, yeah, I just laugh, because it doesn't surprise me at the kind of people that are saying this. You know what I mean? And as I said, man, yeah, these things happen. You know what I mean? Let's move it on. Gary Neville again. Okay, just the other day, obviously on Declan Rice. Defends Rice from boos from City fans in relation to set pieces taking too long. Now, again, yeah, the set pieces that take too long from the likes of Declan Rice, yeah, is what is killing the game. Yeah. But the fact that Gary Neville, yeah, and this I'm trying to tell you, yeah, like, just pay attention to these pundits, because the fact that he's defending Declan Rice, even though Declan Rice taking long to take a corner, which is killing the game, isn't a positive, yeah? But he jumps to the defense of Declan Rice. Why is that? Why is that? Because Declan Rice is English. That's the only reason, yeah? Why isn't Gary Neville talking about the fact that Declan Rice didn't show up in that game, had a poor game? Why is he not chatting about that? But he's talking about the fact that he's praising Declan Rice amid the frustration from the fans that he's taking too long taking the corner kick. We all know that the way football's gone now in this country, yeah, is poor. Corners take too long, the free kicks, you know, it's just a poor advertisement for football. And then rather than Gary Neville just say, you know what, I can see the fans' frustration because he is taking too long at taking the corner or free kick, he wants to jump onto Declan Rice's defense as if what Declan Rice is doing there is good. It's not good. It's killing the game. It's killing the game. I'd much rather him ignore that and just talk about the fact that, you know, for all the hype that Declan Rice gets, he was poor. But again, these pundits ain't going to do that, because there's certain players that are just protected. And one thing you'll get with me is that ain't going to happen. And again, for those of you that watch the channel, man, I'll keep you aware of these things, because, you know, look, I'm watching the Cherki thing now. Look, they're even showing it on Sky Sports, yeah, as if and then what they're doing, yeah, what they're doing as well, yeah, they're showing it on Sky Sports and they're showing Pep not happy. You think Pep really cares? Pep's just doing that for the cameras. You know what I mean? Watch Pep's embrace of Cherki when he came off. But again, even if Pep isn't happy, who cares? Why is this being made something major? You know what I mean? It's just odd. It's odd behavior, man. Odd behavior. Two more. Roy Keane again. So again, this is a positive one, yeah? This is a positive one. And this is one that I actually agree with. So Roy Keane can get some things right, yeah? So this was back in 2025, yeah? When he called Bruno an imposter, saying he should be stripped of the captaincy as he moans all the time instead of leading with action, yeah? Now, this is one, yeah, where Roy Keane is spot on, by the way, when he said that, because I've highlighted this about Bruno when he first came to the club. As soon as Bruno was getting given the treatment of, you know, star player, this is when Bruno started doing all this throwing hands up and hands in the air, all these antics to try and make it seem as if like he's the main guy and everyone has to conduct to him. Yeah. And then when they gave him the captain's armband, it just went through the roof. Yeah. Because if you watch Bruno in every game, there's always something in the game where he's telling people what to do. Now, a lot of fans, where they're just not switched on, yeah, will try and tell you that Bruno cares. And you're right, he does care. He cares about himself. Yeah. So again, when Bruno's throwing his hands up in the air, you can't honestly tell me that's a captain. It's not. Because anyone with anything about them is just going to go and tell Bruno to shut up. It's as simple as that. So that's one thing that Roy Keane did highlight, saying that Bruno's no captain and called him an imposter because of the antics and the moaning. So again, Roy Keane can get things right. And I do agree with what Roy Keane said there, but that's nothing different to what a lot of people know anyway. And again, the reason why I've highlighted this share is because the fact that Bruno does this on a regular basis, yeah, it doesn't get called out enough. And that leads me to think, yeah, if it was other players, would it be highlighted a lot more? I guarantee it would. But for some reason, with Bruno, it gets ignored because he might get GA, and the GA will just silence out the antics that he does. As I said, be very aware of the pundits and the media on what they're choosing to push. You know, they're choosing to push this whole Raya and Cherki doing kick-ups now. Tells you everything. United are offering Kobe a new contract. Yeah, I heard that the other day, man. Again, it's not really a surprise if we're honest. You know, Kobe was always going to get offered a new contract once that clown Ruben Amorim went. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's not really a surprise. I mean, Kobe's actually in a strong position because the fact that Man United have only got one midfielder, really, because obviously Casemiro's leaving at the end of the season, and I'm not even considering Ugarte. At the moment, he's the only midfielder, which is poor, really. Like, he's going to be calling the shots, really, when you think about it, because if he starts saying, look, I want, I don't know, 150 grand, United are going to be, they're going to have to pay him that, really. You know what I mean? But again, I'm not sure what the contracts are involved. I'm not sure how much he's asking for. But what I will tell you is that he's in a very strong position. So let's see. And then there's one more, guys. Keep your questions and comments coming through. So, Roy Keane on Harry Maguire. Yeah. So, in 2025, he admitted he crossed the line when ridiculing Harry Maguire and issued an apology. Yeah. Now, the reason why I have exception with this, yeah, is so he ridiculed Harry Maguire, yeah, and then issued a an apology. Is he going to issue Neymar an apology? Is he going to issue Paul Pogba an apology? Is he? Is he going to issue Anthony Martial with an apology? Again, people don't want to talk about it or have this discussion, yeah? But why is he giving Maguire an apology? But the likes of Pogba, Martial, and Neymar, where's their apology? Do you see the running theme here? I'm just saying. No apology for Pogba. Yeah, Titanium. Exactly. And why is that? Why is that? So he can admit that he got it wrong with Harry Maguire, saying that he crossed the line, yeah? And gave him an apology. But where's Neymar's apology? Where is Pogba and Martial's apology? Again, people don't want to have this conversation because it's just, you know, it's too easy to just go on to the obvious, you know what I mean? But where's Neymar and Pogba and Martial's apology? 3 players, by the way, that absolutely clear Harry Maguire. You know, I've heard Roy Keane say, you know, Pogba's, I can't remember word for word, but you know, alluding to that Pogba's flashy, you know, he you know, the whole doesn't work hard enough, that rubbish. Martial's lazy, you know, all this bollocks that these guys come out with, what he said about Neymar as well. I've heard all this rubbish, yeah, but yet Harry Maguire is the one that he chooses to apologize to. Yeah, man. And these are the pundits for you, you know. So, guys, as I said, man, this is something a bit different, but I wanted to just touch on these things because, You know, a lot of fans just ride on to, like, they hang on to all these pundits, every words, you know, and as I say, man, like, just watching the game properly and having your own mind goes a long way. You know, it does go a long way. Not as bad as Souness. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. These guys, they're all the same, the Graeme Sounnesses and all these guys. But the thing is with Paul Pogba is a prime example, yeah. These pundits, the Graeme Sounnesses, the Roy Keanes of this world, the reason they get onto Pogba is because they can't relate to Pogba. They just can't relate to it. Because look at the kind of players that they were, and look at the kind of player that Paul Pogba is. So rather than them understand the player, they just chat rubbish about them. You know what I mean? It's been like this for ages. You see what I'm saying? Rather than them understand the player, they'll just chat rubbish, you know. Because the thing when Roy Keane's coming out with the fact that he genuinely thinks Rooney, Ronaldo, and Henry are better than Neymar, yeah. If you want to say Ronaldo, then as a footballer, he ain't better than Neymar. But for what he's done in his career, you could probably say fair enough. But as good as Henry and Rooney were, you can't just say that they were just infinitely better than Neymar. What is that based on? That's the questions we need to hear. If Roy Keane actually broke down, yeah, why he thinks Neymar, why he thinks Rooney, Ronaldo, and Henry are better than Neymar, then at least we can kind of see where they're coming from. But these guys don't do it. They don't break it down. They just say that these players are better based off what? And the only thing I'm looking at, the reason why Roy Keane's saying that, yeah, is because those players played in the Premier League and there's a Premier League bias, or Roy Keane just don't know what he's talking about. Simple as. Because you can point to so many things that Neymar has in his favor. You know, but these guys, they never get questioned. They just come out with these sound bites or this nonsense, yeah, and then no one holds them to account. And they're just allowed to get away with nonsense all the time. It's frustrating, man. I saw a clip of Souness crossing the ball to his own goalkeeper from midfield. I don't know what that is in comparison to, you know what I mean? But big up to Titanium. But guys, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, man. What I've just said. Let me know what you think. And big up to everyone coming through yesterday as well, man, with the stream. You know, a few Arsenal people didn't want to turn up. Not really a surprise there, is it? Really, it's what these guys do. They only want to come on when it's all good for them. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? It's what these people do. Guys, anyone watching the England-Uruguay game? Is it on Thursday? To be fair, I think that'll be a good game. So Souness asked Pogba to show his trophy cabinet. Yeah, absolute clown, Graeme Souness. Show his trophy cabinet. All Pogba's got to do is just show one trophy and it's done. The World Cup. You see what I mean? Just show him the World Cup. It's game over. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I'd rather Graeme Souness just said, look, I don't like Pogba. Just don't like him. At least we know, innit? But when he starts coming out with all this rubbish about Pogba, it's a joke, man. And where was Souness' apology to Pogba? Never gonna come. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, this is what these people do, unfortunately. Oh yeah, guys, make sure you check out as well. Yeah, so if those of you haven't seen my greats of the game, so it's players of the past. You know, I do like a little 5 or 10 minute talk. I do like a 5 or 10 minute talk on some of the greats. Obviously, one come out today, I believe. So yeah, let me know, man. There's quite a few on there anyway. You know, some of the greats, and for me, it's important to remember some of these players, man, because we're in an era of football now, man, where it's just poor, you know, from some of the players that are rated, and some of these players back in the day were not even rated like that. So for me, it's important to have a discussion on them. So yeah, make sure you give that a check, man. It's under the playlist of greats of the game. I've also got Next Gen 50 on there as well. So yeah, let me know what you think, man. Let's see. I think pundits should have a free strike rule in place. 3 bad takes and they're gone. Would get us down to just Cole and Evra on punditry in no time. Yeah, big up Fitz, man. Listen, I hear that. Obviously, never gonna happen, but yeah, man. The pundits in this country are terrible. I mean, one of the worst ones is Dion Dublin. Dion Dublin is, yeah, he's just dreadful, man. Don't want to hear that guy's voice again, man. Honestly, he's dreadful. But yeah, some of these pundits, man, these guys are just, they're poor, man. They're poor. The thing is, these guys never break the game down. That's what it is. They're just there, yeah, to give sound bites to fans that don't really know what they're watching, you know. But yeah, the free strike rule would be good, man, but it's never gonna happen. Let's face it. I'll depend on Friday, yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, guys, if there's any Tottenham fans in there, we are gonna do our all-time 11 Tottenham team. So myself and Fitz will be on there. So yeah, if there's any Tottenham fans, or if there's any fans that want to jump onto the stream, let me know, guys. Obviously, it'll be our all-time Tottenham 11 from a certain era. So yeah, let me know as soon as you can. We're either going to do it tomorrow or Thursday. So yeah, it'd be good to get a Tottenham fan on there. Let me know, guys. I think Neymar's problem is he was always overshadowed by the likes of Messi. You know what? Yeah, it's difficult because Messi and Neymar had a great relationship because Neymar knew how good Messi was. Messi knew how good Neymar was, you know. And the thing is, I wouldn't say he was overshadowed, yeah, because to be honest with you, them two in the same team, it was an absolute problem. And obviously they recreated that obviously for PSG as well. But what I would say is when Neymar left Barcelona, he had to leave Barcelona, not because he wanted to, but if you look at the history of Brazilian greats that have won the Ballon d'Or, you know, you look at the likes of Pele, Garrincha, R9, Ronaldinho, Romario, Saka. I think they all won the Ballon d'Or. Yeah. And I'm not sure if Rivaldo was in there as well. But Neymar had to go and realize the Ballon d'Or dream. And that was nothing about him getting away from Messi, nothing like that. If you look at the history, as I said, the players that have won Ballon d'Or from Brazil, he knew that he needed to get away and go and do that for himself. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, it didn't really work out like that, and for reasons that we kind of know anyway. But I wouldn't say he was overshadowed because for me, that's the best front three of all time for me. Messi, Neymar, Suarez. Like that front three is an absolute joke. And the reason it's a joke here is because you've got in Messi and Neymar, you've got two guys that are creators first, but both scored obscene amount of goals. And then you've got Luis Suarez, who's a goal scorer first, but then is a creator. Like you've got everything in that front three. Skill, strength, speed, dribbling ability, shooting, anything. They've got it. You know what I mean? That front three was a joke. You know what I mean? So when he got broken up, it was annoying, man. But yeah, Neymar had to go, man. Not because he wanted to, but just to go and create his own path, really. You know. Oh yeah, Brazil France on Thursday. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try and watch that. I might even. I think if we, you know, in actual fact, I'm gonna watch that as we're doing the all-time 11 for Tottenham. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll be checking where Maldini and the new one after this. Yeah, big up, bro. Yeah, guys, if you haven't seen the greats of the game, I've done George Ware, I've done Paolo Maldini, and there's another one that come out today as well. A player that many probably forgot about or not even heard of. You know, so yeah, give that a check, guys, and let me know what you think. Dion will always be okay with me. Broke his leg for us to bring in Sir Andrew. Yeah, Fitz, I hear it, man. I hear it. I never even knew that. But yeah, that Dion Dublin, man, he's one of the worst punts I've heard by far. Jesus Christ is a great player, and I think he'll be a great addition to the team. Yeah, some loser called Sean Forder. What a clown. What a clown. Man's got Leonardo DiCaprio as his picture. Enough said. You know what I mean? These guys are odd. These guys are proper odd, man. Seriously. Just noticed no Mamba, Verbic, Lumi, Clockenders, or Cricket today. Wonder what they all have in common. Well, listen, if I'm them, I'm hiding too. Yeah, under a rock. You know what I mean? Because as I said, these guys have all come on there, all high and mighty. And let's just say, man, they got the humbling that they duly deserved. So yeah, man, it's what happens though, unfortunately, innit? You know, this is why, man, you can't be a part-time, what they call it, a part-time for the word now. You can't be a part-time you can't be a part-time fan. You know what I mean? You have to go with the rough and the smooth. You know what I mean? When it's not going well, you got to show up. But when it is going well, of course you show up. But this is why I've said to you guys already, this is why Arsenal are going to struggle, because when you got fans like that, yeah, listen, it usually tells its own story. You know what I mean? I heard a lot about Mbappe's ego problems. Doesn't look like it to me. What do you think? I'll tell you what I think there, Noor Saeed, yeah? I'll tell you what I think. And again, this is something, yeah, that is going to get ignored by especially the media and the pundits. Does Mbappe have an ego? Yeah, he probably does. He probably does. Look at all the best players in the world. They all have somewhat of an ego. That is what makes them the best in the world. Yeah. But I'll bring it to this. You see Max Dowman, yeah? Max Dowman's got an ego. But this won't get picked up by the media for obvious reasons. But Max Dowman has an ego. Just saying. Something that's going to get ignored, but Max Dowman's got an ego. I promise you. Tottenham all-time 11. Can you get to 11? Yeah, easily. Tottenham have had some good players, man. Like, I don't think it's one to be laughing at. If I'm honest, they've had some good players. Just seen the newest great to the game, my guy. Free kick master. Yeah, Fitz, bro. Janino Pernambucano. When I'm hearing that there's some great free kick experts out there now, just go and watch this guy, and then you'll know. Benjamin Stambouli. My God, I forgot about that guy. Yeah, that's someone that's definitely not going to get included in there. Yeah, hell no, he's not going to be in there. And as Titanium says, the best athletes have egos. But Titanium, all the best players have an ego. They all have an ego. That's it. It's just that some players get highlighted more than others. I'm telling you now, yeah, they are trying to bring down Lamine Yamal. I promise you. They're trying to bring down Lamine Yamal for reasons why we know. Lamine Yamal's 18, yeah? He's the best player in the world right now, with Pedri for me. And they are trying to bring him down because he's perceived to have an arrogance. All the best players have that. And as I just said, Max Dowman has an arrogance about him. But because he's going to be protected in this country, people ain't going to pick up on it. And I'm telling you this now, He's got an arrogance. Guys, make sure we're hitting the likes. Make sure we are subbing to the channel if you're new in here as well. And the media act like Palmer is a perfect gentleman. Haha. Listen, I like Cole Palmer's attitude. He's just got a nonchalance about him, like he don't give a damn. And I've got time for that because no one's out here trying to play games with the media. You know, Michael Elise is another one. When they answered Elise in the press conference, yeah. If anyone remembers the game when Elise, I think he scored or set someone up, I can't remember who it was. They asked him in the press, what did he think about the goal or something? And you know what it is, yeah? It made me laugh because I've been waiting for a player to go and do that. He ain't got time to be messing around with the media. He just answered the question and I had nowhere to go with it. And I've got time for that. You know what I mean? So, as I said, Cole Palmer's perceived the way that he is, no problem with me, man. At least you know where you stand with these guys, and I've got time for that. But as Fitz has said, look, most of these arrogant or egotistical players are only considered that by people that don't have the same confidence. Fitz, bro, you've hit the nail on the head. You've hit the nail on the head. Others will acknowledge they have reason to carry themselves a certain way. And you know what? This is where I was going with it, yeah? The people that look at people that have that they think have arrogance or are egotistical, what that usually tells you, yeah, is that there's a flaw within themselves because they're wishing that they could be like that. That's a fact. Because people that say someone's arrogant or whatever, yeah, it usually means that they wish they could be as confident like that. It's just that simple. You know, it's just that simple. Whenever you hear people talk about people's ego or whatever, yeah, and this is why when Gary Neville said he's not happy with Ryan Cherki, yeah, it doesn't surprise me it comes from Neville because Neville as a player was a tryhard. You know, he didn't really have any talent, but he maximized what he had to become a footballer. But the facts are he hasn't got half, not even half. He's got nowhere near the talent of Ryan Cherki. So rather than him just ignore that or just praise Cherki's performance, he's got to talk about Cherki and him being arrogant because he was doing kick-ups. So I'm trying to tell you, that's a flaw on Gary Neville because Gary Neville wasn't a great footballer. He was a tryhard. And tryhards will always try and take off a shine from someone that is confident. That's life. You know what I mean? But yeah, big up Fitz, man. Hit nail on the head. Just highlighting the hypocrisy of the media and the labels they choose to place on certain players. Yeah, big up, man. But don't hide what you're saying, yeah? Because this is a channel that you ain't gotta hide what you're saying. The reason the players that get labeled in the media are usually black players. It's just that simple. We all know what it is. We all know what it is. You know, the reason why Cole Palmer, you know, there's a few people that are not sure about Cole Palmer's body language or whatever. You know, he's got I think he's got a black I think his granddad's black if I remember right. But there's certain players, yeah, that are always going to get labeled by something. It's been going on for years. But I'm telling you this now, Max Dowman has got arrogance. Let's see if the media pick up on it. Because I guarantee you now, they're not going to talk about it. They're going to ignore it. I'm telling you, man. I've been talking about this for time. Like, we all know the game. We all know the game. We all know what's going on here. You know what I mean? There's certain players that will get ignored, and then there's certain players that will get highlighted, you know? So I like players like CR7. I want more egotistical players, but most don't have the quality to back it up like CR7. I disagree. Disagree. CR7 was what has had a great career, no doubt in, yeah. But it, like, if there's players that are more talented than Ronaldo out there that are egotistical, without doubt, man. But again, because Ronaldo was Ronaldo and done what he done, he was egotistical, but no one spoke about it because it was Ronaldo, innit? You know what I mean? JJ Gabriel is the next big thing coming to Man United. Well, he's not coming to Man United. He's at Man United. He's at Man United right now. But yeah, listen. Next season, man. Let's hope. Next season, man. Let's hope that JJ Gabriel is part of the first team squad. You know, I've already said, yeah, I believe he breaks Daumann's record as the youngest scorer. I'm saying it now. I'm saying it. I said it the other day. I think he breaks Daumann's record as the youngest scorer in Premier League history. Obviously, he's got to be part of the first team squad. But let's face it, he would have already got games already in the first team had his age not been an issue. So let's see next season. But I've got belief, man, no doubt. So no way Daumann can't be arrogant. Imagine walking into a year 11 being a Premier League player. The ego wouldn't be containable. Ravel's ego was astronomical in year 9 from just being an academy player. But yeah, Fitz, listen, I haven't got a problem that Daumann's egotistical. I don't care. But what I'm trying to say here is that the media will pick up on someone else being egotistical, and we all know why that is, but they won't pick up on the fact that Daumann's also the same. I'm telling you this now. Daumann's got an ego. I'm telling you. And again, having an ego is not a bad thing, because if you want to be that good, you've got to have some sort of belief, and you've got to have an ego. It's just that simple. You know, so like if Daumann's got an ego, then good. But the media are not going to pick up on it. They're going to ignore that, and they'll focus on someone that has an ego, and they'll just try and highlight that as him not being as good as what they think they are. But Daumann's got an ego, I'm telling you. So do you back Carrick? And if so, why do you believe he's the right person for the job or not? So the thing is, I'm backing Carrick for what he's done so far, you know, because I'll tell you what makes me laugh here is that there's a lot of fans out there that all of a sudden they're deciding to have standards for Manchester United. But then when Ruben Amorim was in charge, it was the players' fault and all this other stuff. Now Carrick's come in, and the performances again haven't been great. But I don't want to hear nothing about performances, because where was this noise when Ruben Amorim was embarrassing us every week, you know? And for what I've seen of Carrick so far, yeah, the way the defense is set up, like I'm confident whenever we're playing in terms of we do not look like we're going to concede a goal, which is a positive. His team selection for me isn't what I want to see consistently, but in terms of what Carrick's done, you can't really argue with it. Let's face it, you know. And do I think he's the right person for the job? If we get Champions League football, you know, I've always said we get Champions League football and we are playing good football, it's going to be kind of hard to say, look, Carrick, man, you don't deserve the job, because the remit for Amorim would have been good football and Champions League. The fact that the football was shit under Amorim, and as I said, there was no way we was getting top 4 with him. Yeah, I said if Amorim was to stay in charge for the whole season, would be in the bottom half. I mean, would have. So the fact that Carrick's come to the club now, you know, not everything is rosy. Of course it's not. But the fact that, you know, we're in Champions League positions and we should secure that, you know, and the football has been better in comparison in comparison to what Amorim was doing. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to say Carrick can't have the job. But if we're going to go and get a Luis Enrique or a Zidane or a Xavi for me, then cool. I'm happy with it. But if we're not getting one of them managers, and I don't mind the Zerbi either, if I'm honest with you, yeah? But if we're not getting one of them managers, then based on what Carrick's done, it's going to be hard for you to say, yeah, Carrick can't have the job. It's the truth. You know what I mean? It's the truth. But what I would say, man, is I'm happy with what Carrick's done so far. I'm not happy with his team selection, if I'm honest, sometimes. You know, playing Mbeumo through the middle is an absolute joke because he's not good enough, to be honest with you. And if you're going to play Mbeumo, just play him from the right or have him on the bench. But in some games, I can see why he wants to play him there. But for me, he's just not a great footballer. You know, he's someone that's really there because he gets numbers, and he's not even getting that at the moment. So yeah, as I said, and there's other things as well, which I've spoken about before. But at the moment, I'm happy with Carrick, and let's see what happens to the end of the season. But one thing's for certain, come the summer, we've got a lot of things to do. Midfielders, departures, and the manager. You know what I mean? So let's just see, man. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, ego like Alejandro, your fault. He's wasted his career. Listen, Alejandro Garnacho was never good. So even when we hear about Garnacho's ego now, yeah, like I laugh because the thing is, Garnacho was never good. He never was good. Like, he was forced into the first team because it was a case where the fan base wanted to more or less put Marcus Rashford in his place. That's all it was. But this stems from, yeah, the likes of when we had Martial. Because if you check it, yeah, I never rated Rashford like that. Yeah, I always thought Rashford was a good player. And Rashford was given his break when Martial and even Will Keane got injured. But then what happened is that the fan base tried to pit Martial and Rashford against each other, even though they both played well with each other. But it was more or less a let's protect Rashford because he's come through the youth and he's English and he fed the kids. And Martial was seen as the French guy that was moody. Yeah, even though in terms of ability, Martial was by far the better player. Yeah. But then what happened? And I said this from before, yeah. Martial, Pogba, Sancho, Jesse Lingard, yeah. These guys were made the scapegoat while Marcus Rashford was getting away with it. Yeah. And I said at the time, it's going to come to a point when all those players leave and Rashford's going to be on his own. And then they're going to try and find a scapegoat in Rashford for someone else. And that's what happened. So as soon as those players went and then Rashford was given the big contracts and he wasn't performing, like we all knew that he wasn't that player anyway, they were trying to force through Garnacho. And then Garnacho was never good enough, but it was more of a case of putting Garnacho in the first team and putting Rashford into his place. Now, all of a sudden, these guys are now realized that Garnacho's got an ego and he was shit. And now it's cool to be crashing it on Garnacho when myself and a lot of fans were telling you that Garnacho was always shit. You see what I mean? But all of a sudden now, it's like it's cool to be crashing it on Garnacho when he never was good enough in the first place. Rasmus Højlund's another one, never good enough in the first place. But certain fans out there want to try and tell you that these players were good, and now these players are gone. It's like it's cool to be crashing it on them. Manuel Ugarte is another one. He was never good. But just look at the patterns as to why these people were trying to make you think that they were. Makes you laugh, man. I'm telling you. It's like them teachers who pick on. Now, listen, Titanium, bro. I hear you, man, but I'm not really gonna go down that route. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go down that route, man. It's not even about that, man, to be honest with you. Because you could just flip it the other way, man. So I'm not really going to go down that route, man, if I'm honest, you know. But big up, bro, anyway. After Ferguson, how would you rank the other Man United managers from best to worst? Oh, easy. The best manager since Ferguson was Louis van Gaal. I've always said that. People don't want to give Van Gaal his flowers, yeah. And I bring it back to just have a look at what Van Gaal was trying to implement at the club with nowhere near the money that all these managers had. You know what I mean? So for me, Van Gaal definitely number one. Number two, I would say is between Solskjaer and Mourinho. You'd probably say for what he won, Mourinho. Third would be Solskjaer, and then I'm not even ranking Ten Hag and Amorim. They were an absolute disgrace. And the Ten Hag one for me is even worse because when Ten Hag was signed, yeah, I was of the opinion that Ten Hag was really gonna do something special here, because I'm looking at the way Ajax played. He was an absolute criminal, Eric Ten Hag. Absolute criminal. But never did I think we'd get a manager in that's even worse than him in Amorim, because he was an absolute disgrace, Amorim. So yeah, for me, Van Gaal's by far number one. Then for me, second, Mourinho. Third, Solskjaer. And then I'm not even ranking Ten Hag and Amorim. Sorry, guys, 1 minute. Ruben, the worst in our 150-year history. He was terrible, terrible. One of the worst. Well, put it this way, he's the worst manager we've had. I'd argue that of anyone. The records are there. The records are there. Worst manager. And what made it worse for me is that he actually thought he was that good. Stubborn as anything. And then you get fans saying he didn't have his players. It's there's always an excuse for certain people. The facts are, he come to Manchester United, yeah, Ruben Amorim, and he come in there thinking that he had it all sorted out. And he just found out very quickly that he ain't that guy, man. It's just that simple. It's just that simple, you know what I mean? Yeah, Fitz Harry. Oh, sorry, David Moyes, another one. Sorry. So, yeah, I wouldn't put Carrick in there because Carrick's interim, innit? He's not full-time manager. But in terms of the full-time managers, yeah, LVG by far number one. Mourinho, Ollie, Moyes. Yeah, and I'm not ranking Ten Hag and Amorim. Yeah, Ten Hag was a disgrace. You know what I mean? But Amorim beat him. Never would I thought I'd see that. Never would I thought I'd see that. But guys, yeah, let me know what you think of today's. Let me know what you think, man. In regards to these pundits. Obviously, if those of you that have missed it, make sure you catch the beginning. Let me know what you think before we wrap it up. Fulham's proposed 30 million sign of Ricardo Pepi falls through. Second time. Crazy. So Cherki and Bruno carrying the Prem in terms of football IQ and beauty. We need to stop it from becoming a league where you only succeed if you're tall, fast, intense. More such players from you. So in terms of football IQ, I don't know why Bruno's in there. I'll be honest. There's nothing IQ about just spamming balls into the box. So that's not IQ for me. Cherki, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it. But again, in terms of this league, yeah, this league's been like this for a little while. It has. So it's not really a surprise, man, as to what's going on. This has been going on for years, man. I'm telling you, like I've spoken about this for time. And you know, and the thing is, I bring it back to when I was playing, when I was younger, yeah. When I was in the academy at Chelsea and Tottenham, yeah. The kind of coaches that we had back then was all British coaches, and the way that these guys saw the game, yeah, it wasn't like the footballer was secondary. It was more about who's running the most, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears, like I talk about a lot with these pundits. And it's a major problem because it's like when people see the likes of Max Dowman and like obviously the Fodens, the Palmers, players like that coming through now, yeah. These players were always about, by the way. And again, there's nothing on these players like Dowman, Cole Palmer, Cobby, Foden, these kind of, like, it's nothing against them, yeah, because they are very good players. But these players have always been about. But the problem is, until Pep Guardiola come to this country, yeah, all you had in the youth system was just British coaches, and these British coaches all think the same. You know, as I said, when I was back in the academy at Chelsea and Tottenham, most notably in Tottenham, yeah, I remember where some of the players that they used to choose ahead of me, they weren't better footballers than me, but they fitted the narrative of, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears, the running. You know, they deemed it as hard work, because that's what these guys relate to as hard work. I look at things differently. If you're running all over the pitch, that don't mean you're working hard. It doesn't. It actually means, yeah, that you're not intelligent. Because if you're trying to chase everything all over the pitch, what happens is that if you're playing against a top team, yeah, they'll just pick you off, because the position that you're not that you've moved out of to try and be a hero, yeah, that's the space you should have been in, where better teams will pick you off. It's about running smart, not just running for the sake of it. And that's a fact. And if you look at a lot of the coaches back then, yeah, they all picked the same sort of players, you know, guys that were just physically guys that were just physically dominant, quick, and just worked hard. That was the mindset. But these things are not rated on the continent. They're not. These other countries like Spain, you know, like Holland, you know, France, like these countries, they look at, you know, the footballer first, and the athlete should come second. And after all, the game is called football, by the way, you know. So again, man, these things have always been a problem. So when we're seeing tall, fast, intense right now, it's not really a surprise. It's not a surprise. But this is why, yeah. You look at the national team now, for instance. Yeah, the national team, they're producing different kind of quality players. You know, you look at the likes of Cobby, Adam Walton, Cole Palmer. I mentioned Foden already. Who else is there? And the reason why I've mentioned them kind of players, yeah, and there's obviously probably a few more, but the reason I mention them kind of players is because those players are more technical players first than being athletes, yeah. And they're starting to introduce these players a lot more now. But as I said, these players were always around, but where this country now is starting to introduce these players, the likes of France, the likes of Spain, Holland, Brazil, Argentina, their conveyor belt has been like that the whole time, which is why you get the likes of a Messi, a Paulo Dybala, you know, a Neymar, the Ronaldinhos, you know, the Rodrigos, the Yamals, the Pedris. Who else is there? Players like that, you know. There's a reason why you get so many of them off the conveyor belt, because these guys have been like in tune with them kind of players from the very beginning. And for me, how I see it now is that, you know, this country is way and far behind those countries in terms of what they're producing. You know, the thing is, it's changing a bit now, but they're too far behind because they've always been interested in bringing through the athletes. Jude Bellingham is a prime example of what I'm talking about here. The fact that he's being spoken about as being England's savior and this other nonsense they come out with should tell you all what I'm talking about, because he's purely there because he's an athlete, not because he's good. You see what I mean? You think if Jude Bellingham was Spanish, they would have him in their team as a starter? Of course they wouldn't. But yet somehow this country seems to think it's good having Jude Bellingham in the first team. Because why? Because he's marketable, not because he's good. See what I mean? Big up to Christopher McGrath. Big up yourself. Big up, man. Yeah, big up, man. Big up yourself. Make Jude captain and Foden vice. Boy, they're two players that probably won't even go. I'm telling you this now, yeah? Mark my words. Between Bellingham and Foden, one of them is not going to the World Cup. One of them won't go. I promise you. And the thing is, there's a reason why one of them won't go, which I've explained before. But I reckon one of them won't go. Maybe both. You love him. Nah, man. I rate Foden as a footballer, but nah, not Jude Bellingham, man. Never have, never will. His brother's better than him as a footballer. You know what I mean? uh yeah, man, from England. Big up. Guys, come on, make sure we're hitting that like button, guys. Make sure we're subbing as well if you're new in there. Make sure you're supporting the channel. As I said, we are going to be live on tomorrow or Thursday for the all-time Tottenham 11. So again, if you're a Tottenham fan or if you want to jump on the stream and do the stream with myself and Fitz, just let me know and I can send you the link, guys. Name the 3 strikers that are going to the World Cup, Gav, please. Well, there's no point naming 3, yeah, because it's basically going to be 2 others. So Harry Kane's obviously there. The other 2. Do you know what? I'm going to change my mind. England are not going to take 2 strikers. 3 strikers. They'll take 2. They'll take 2 strikers. So really, it's just going to be someone that's going to be back up to Harry Kane, because the players that are going to go, I think Anthony Gordon goes, and he's someone that can also play through the middle. So for me, it should be Danny Welbeck. But again, he's not even in this squad. So I can see it being Calvert-Lewin if it's not Danny Welbeck. And the only reason I think it'll be Calvert-Lewin is because Calvert-Lewin offers a physical presence, an aerial presence. And I think Ollie Watkins might miss out, because if you look at Ollie Watkins, for instance, yeah, if you're looking at a squad, I think Anthony Gordon's definitely going to go, yeah? And Anthony Gordon could probably provide the same thing that Ollie Watkins is going to offer. So Ollie Watkins, to me, is in trouble. And the fact that Ollie Watkins ain't in the squad tells you everything. So if it's not Danny Welbeck forcing his way in there, it's going to be Calvert-Lewin. And Calvert-Lewin will be back up to Harry Kane. But if they're chasing the game, England, they might think, let's go long to Calvert-Lewin. So, yeah, I think it will be Calvert-Lewin as it stands right now, as backup to Kane. I don't think they'll take 3 strikers. They'll take 2. I go to London 3 times a year for work. Big up, big up. Where you from then? What country are you from at Porsche? Big up yourself. Make sure you're subbing to the channel though if you're new in there, and make sure you smash the like button as well. Let me know what country you're from. Are you familiar with West or South London? Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, of course. What area in West or South London? I've started for watching a legend vids. Good stuff, mate. Yeah, big up yourself, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Guys, make sure you're subbing. And said if you're new, I'm only a few short of 2K subs. So again, if you haven't subbed, make sure you do, guys. Big up yourselves. Right, guys, we're going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes. So if you guys got any more questions, then get them in. And should be back tomorrow at some point. Guys, what's your predictions for oh, I know. Yeah, sorry guys. What's your predictions for for the World Cup? Who's your favorites for the World Cup if you had to pick one team? If you had to pick one team, who's your favorites? I said I said one team, not four. Sorry, three. Italy, Brazil, and France. Don't be greedy. I said one team. For me, I'm gonna. For me, I think. Yeah, I think it's between four teams for me: Brazil, France, Spain, and Argentina. But yeah, I hear it fits, man. France, yeah. I think France or Spain. France or Spain for me. Argentina would definitely be in the semis. Maybe France, Brazil, and yeah, they're the four favorites for me right now. You know, they're the four favorites. If we're being serious, but you never know. There could be a surprise. But I think those four, and again, I can't wait to see when the final squads get announced. You know, I'm going to enjoy doing content on that because we can focus on the lineups. Put the lineup builder on there as well on what the main teams might be. So yeah, that'll be good, man. Can't wait for that. Gav said pick one, then said proceeded with four, then two. Yeah, listen. The funny thing is, yeah, I've always said the same four in it. So for me, I can't even pick one team because like I just got a feeling them four teams will be in it. But yeah, man. I hope Australia get out the group stage, but unlikely. Yeah, Australia. I mean, trying to think. I remember the days of Australia having the likes of Mark Viduka and Harry Kewell. You know what I mean? Mark Viduka, Harry Kewell, Tim Cahill. There's some serious players there, man. Some serious players, but I can't even tell you who they got now. Spain. I mean, Australia. I'd love Brazil, but back in the mind, I know it's probably going to be Spain or Argentina, maybe even France. I'll take it safe and say Spain. Yeah, listen, I mean, put this way, yeah. If Pedro and Yamal are on song, which they should be and will be, then you can't really look past them, man, because yeah, man, serious players. What a player he was. Guys, do you remember a player called Lee Trundle? Played for Tranmere Rovers. Lee Trundle. What a player he was. Left-footed. Lee Trundle. Let's see if you guys know. Remember Lee Trundle. He was ridiculous. He's someone for me that should have played in the Prem. He had that ability. We still talk about Tim Cahill's goal against Netherlands. Can't actually remember that goal, to be honest. Can't actually remember it. I'll call it now. Ireland to get through the group stage. Yeah, it'd be tough. It'd be tough. But who's in Ireland's group? Who's in Ireland's group? You watching Premier League years or something? No, bro. It's Sky Sports. Sky Sports just come up now, and they just showed a couple of goals from Lee Trundle. He was a top player, man. Yeah, he was sick, man. He was sick. I'm telling you. I don't think I've seen a more technical player, yeah, playing the lower leagues than him. He was a joke. No pace, but just pure quality. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You know what I mean? Quality always prevails in the end, man. If Ireland make it through, I'll never hear the end of it from my guys. Well, listen, who's in Ireland's group? Then I think we'll have a better know of what's going to go on in it. I just got news from a pretty okay-ish source. United could end up offering 80 million plus Rashi for Fermin Lopez. Deal most probably won't go through, but your thoughts on this being considered on the table? Right, big up, man. Not only is this never gonna happen, for one, We don't actually need Fermin Lopez. We don't. What we need to do, what we need to do is first things first, At the end of the season, we part ways with Bruno Fernandes, move him on. I don't care what anyone wants to say about it, We need to move Bruno Fernandes on. It's just that simple, Then we go and revamp that midfield, because when you've got players there that can play where Bruno's playing, even if you want to play a free flat in midfield, or you want to play someone in the 10, you've got players like Ahmad, Xerxes, Cunha, and even Kobe that can play number 10. If you want to play a free in midfield, just go and get 3 midfielders in the summer. It's just that simple. So again, we don't need Fermin Lopez, because if Fermin Lopez comes, he's going to play in the 10, and you're not going to spend money on Lopez, 80 mil plus Rashid. Doesn't make sense. And not to mention, he's come through La Masia, and Barca are not gonna do that deal for me, So, but yeah, he's a good player, Fermin Lopez, and he should be in the World Cup. But yeah, we don't actually need him. We need to go and get, as I keep saying, Camavinga, Tonali, Baleba, them 3 for me, especially. If we can't get them 3, then just go and get 3 quality midfielders. Oh yeah, Troy Parrott, ex Tottenham. Ex-Tottenham. Don't think he'll be included in the all-time 11 though this week. The source, by the way, was the one who also reported first Rashford loan. I hear it, but yeah, that's not going to happen, man. It's not going to happen. We're not going to part ways with 80 million and Rashford to go and get Fermin Lopez when we need to go and get central midfielders. Griezmann's going to Orlando City next season. So Griezmann's off. He's off ski. So you're in favor of Casemiro staying? 100%. We need to keep Casemiro. I'm just hoping, there's a world where we can just talk him round, man, or we just give him another season, because his winning mentality, his leadership, his experience is going to be crucial next season. And again, you haven't got to play him every game. You just, you pick and choose your games to play him in, so you can reserve his energy and use his quality and experience. But 100%, man, Casemiro, I'd love to keep him, but maybe I think that decision's already been done. So I'm not even looking at that really. But yeah, if we could keep Casemiro, man, what a business that would be. Like, Casemiro is our best player, man. He is. People will tell you Bruno because of numbers. He ain't our best player. Casemiro is. Simple. Right, guys, we're going to wrap it up anyway. Guys, as I said, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel if you're new in here as well. And make sure, guys, you go and share the channel as well on all your social media platforms. Help the channel to grow. As I said, we are going to be live either tomorrow or Thursday. Probably Thursday. Oh, yeah, we'll be live on Thursday for the Tottenham all-time 11, with myself and Fitz. Again, if there's any Tottenham fans, or if there's anyone that wants to jump on and do the stream with us as well, then just let me know. But yeah, we'll definitely be back on Thursday with that, and I should be back tomorrow at some point if there's any sort of news that I want to touch on as well. But other than that, guys, big up to yourselves for coming through each and every time. And as I say, check out the greats of the game. There's a couple of players that have come out. Obviously, George Ware, Maldini, Janino Pernambucano as well. That should be out right now as well. And guys, check out some of the posts as well that I've put up. Some good posts. There's actually a few more there's actually one that should be coming out later today, which might be interesting for some viewers as well. So yeah, make sure you guys vote on that, and make sure you check out all the other content as well. And guys, very soon as well, maybe more towards the summer, I am going to be doing a Q&A as well, a live Q&A for members only. So again, going to try and step up some things now as well. So yeah, in the summer, I'm going to do a Q&A for members only. So obviously Q&A is just purely questions and answers, you know. So you guys give me your questions and answers, and yeah, I'll just go. It can be based on anything as well. Anything we want to talk about. We'll definitely be doing a Q&A. So that'll be something I'll be looking at doing very soon. But yeah, other than that, guys, as I said, hope you guys have a nice rest of your Tuesday. And as I said, we are going to do the all-time Tottenham 11 on Thursday, and I should be back at some point tomorrow. And hopefully you guys are there. If not, I'll catch you guys for the next one. But other than that, guys, big up to yourselves. Smash the likes on the way out. Sub to the channel if you're new as well. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.